This interview is with Dermot Buffini, the brother of Byron Buffini and the CEO of Buffini Companies. He runs the companies. He has so much to share over 25 years of what's made them successful and what can make all of us successful in our business. If you like this executive level style of content, you'd really like Housing Wire's YouTube channel. I actually dropped a link down below if you're interested. Go check it out and enjoy the conversation between me and Dermot, where I take some turns about my personal life that I've never talked about before.
People are drowning in information, but they're starving for truth. In fact, if you're not careful with it, it will give you a false sense about yourself. And success lies.
And so you're really kind of a unicorn leader where you have visionary traits, you have operational traits.
But it's like, if I could help people really build a great career, work with great people, build a great business, be super professional, be gracious to other agents for the benefit of the experience of the client and the industry, I'll have won.
How long have you been with the company?
25 years.
25. And then
Started
how long?
when I was 27.
Company's been around
29 years.
29. So what happened the first 4 years? You guys weren't talking?
Figuring stuff out. My brother was calling me. I had my business in London. I was in the transportation business.
Bobby, are we already going? Good.
Yeah.
All right.
And, I knew he was in real estate. I knew he was being asked to speak at conferences. I knew he had a gift. And he was like, come on over. You should come on over. And I'm like, listen, what are you doing? He was like, well, I go out and I go town to town. I'm like, I think you're going to jail. This sounds really, because I'm European, right? We're Irish. We don't believe anything. So I said, listen,
that's what's wrong with my wife.
Exactly. So
believe anything
you know
say.
what, you feel me. So I said, look, if you stay out of jail and you pay your bills, then I'm interested. So I went to a conference in 97, went to Seattle. And I don't know how many brothers and sisters you have. How many do you have? You got one. Yeah. That's great.
My mom has 10, I have 1.
There you go.
She spared me all of that pain.
Well, I'm one of 6. So I tell people all the time, like, have you ever gone to your siblings' seminar? Most people are like, no. I'm like, would you pay to go? I'm like, no. Well, I went for free. That was the only benefit. But when I went in the room, I was like, hold on a second here. I saw him differently. Like, I'm like, he's got a gift. This audience, he was teaching them, he was sharing them with them, he was encouraging with them. And one of the reasons he was having such an impact on them, they were like, this guy knows what it feels like to be an entrepreneur who doesn't know when the next commission's coming from, the next client is coming from. He knows the pain of it. And so I went around the room and I would talk to this guy and say, why are you here? Because I'm a curious guy. I'm like, why are you here? And they're like, well, your brother changed my business, changed my life. I'm like, I'm going to ask somebody else because, I'm like, okay. And that was kind of the theme of it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is kind of cool. And then in 99, I decided to come over and I arrived November 11th, 1999, went to my first event in Chicago, and I've been with the company ever since. And I've kind of, helped build it and play a vital role, and it's been a blast. So
yeah, to be fair to the audience, you and I, over the last 24 hours, literally just started getting to know each other.
Yeah.
My assumption, honestly, till I met you was, Byron Buffini's running Buffini Company, right?
Yeah.
Like he's running it. And nope, Dermot is the guy running it. He's the CEO. He's running day to day.
Yeah.
Obviously, your brother's heavily involved and all of that, but you're the CEO, making decisions, driving the company forward.
Yeah.
And I heard your talk yesterday, and many in the industry have heard of Byron Buffini talk. Yeah. Maybe not as many have heard of Dermot Buffini, but I'm like, this guy's fantastic. He's a great speaker in his own right.
Yeah.
And so you're really kind of a unicorn leader where you have visionary traits, you have operational traits.
Yeah.
Give me some of the core beliefs, because you shared them with me yesterday, but share them with the audience.
Yeah.
Some of the core beliefs of how you guys run the company. It's an incredible, successful company over the years. And not the business model, because I do want to get into that, because I think people will be surprised by that later. But just the core beliefs of like how you make decisions. If I'm bringing somebody on, it's got to be right for what?
Yeah. Well, number one is, and you asked some great questions. Even we were chatting yesterday, and I was like, Byron is what I would call an unreasonable visionary. We're in this beautiful place here, the Broadmoor here, and Spencer Penrose had this vision for this spectacular place.
5,000 acres.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But he's kind of unreasonable visionary. Like, to envision this in 1917 and wanted to build one of the best resorts in the world, never mind the States. Like, that's in a certain timeline, at a certain time, in probably an environment that's not that easy, that's kind of an unreasonable visionary.
Yeah.
Brian is that. His vision was fueled by a passion for people just like him, who want an opportunity, who want a chance, who probably didn't come from much, and put it all on the line and go, I want to give this a go. And he knows how hard it was. And they just had this big vision. And it was kind of like, not not grandiose, but it's like, if I could help people really build a great career, work with great people, build a great business, be super professional, be gracious to other agents for the benefit of the experience of the client and the industry, I'll have won. So he started with that vision. And also, I think the philosophy is, there's so many ways to do business, and everybody has to pick their path. And, if somebody likes cold calling or they like door knocking, and that's their thing, they should do that. Our philosophy was like, find a client, serve the client, do such a great job for them, they'll send all their friends and family members to you. And at the time, that just really resonated with people. I came along a few years later, and again, all my past business experience kind of connected with this business. I had sold insurance door to door. Okay. That's not easy in Ireland in the middle of winter. Everybody's like, every no gets you closer to a yes. No, every no kind of pisses me off. And it just, but I'm going to keep going. But it taught me that hustle side of things. I'd worked in the retail space, so I knew about service. Somebody coming into a store, they were going to make a decision. It was in shoes and clothes. They came in, you had something you liked. You didn't have to hustle them. You didn't have to chase them down. They're really going to buy it, they weren't.
Yeah.
And then I got into the logistics business of moving product from one side of the world to the other in a certain timeline with a certain margin. And in a way that if you make a mistake, it's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost you the client. So when I came here, I had kind of that experience to support his vision. My approach is I like to do a certain level of operations that support two things. If it helps our customers grow their business and their skills, I'm interested in it. And the second part, Buffini Company has to be profitable and grow too.
Yeah.
So as we hire people, you really have to be into the people. You've got to be into the spirit of things. I shared a story yesterday when I spoke about Joanne Zabrowski, who's this lady who gets into real estate like many people because she thought it looked easy. And then life happens.
It was a great story.
Yeah, and it's a real story.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, here's this woman. She adopts 2 young kids from China. Right afterwards, her husband kind of too much for him. She takes off. She's struggling in real estate. Now she's a single mom with 2 adopted kids. And she's $250,000 with credit card debt that he left behind him. And for that person to transform their life into being like a powerhouse realtor, because they got aligned with what they like to do and to serve people in a process and a system that resonates with them, which happens to be our philosophy. If we're hiring somebody and they're not into that, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because that's the juice. And I always say to people, like, we do well because we help other people do well. And it's as simple as that. And if they don't do well, they shouldn't be with us. They shouldn't pay us every month for coaching.
So it has to serve the customer, and Buffini has to be profitable. Every agent listening to this right now could take that and plug it into their own business.
Yeah.
If I can serve the customer based on my business model in their best interest, I'll do the deal, or I'll sign the buyer rep, or I'll sign the exclusive listing. Yeah. And I have to be profitable at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's right.
And the conversation around customer acquisition, do you want to give, your money to realtor.com or to Zillow, becomes emotional for agents when really, if you're going to play another game with your time or your spend on mail, it's all customer acquisition costs.
Yeah.
Your model, your trainings, your teachings, what you're known for, the bread and butter of the company has been this referral flywheel business.
That's right.
And, I just think, and you can be open with me, be open with the audience. I just think there's going to be a lot of pressure on that particular business model for a lot of agents across the country. Not that referrals aren't important, being hyper-local is critical.
Yeah.
All of these components are really important. But Rocket has a ton of money to spend.
Sure.
Zillow is going to be very aggressive on mortgage.
Yeah.
They're going to be putting offers constantly in front of the customer in places that the customer is viewing information and spending time. And that's not going to stop or slow down. It's just going to get bigger and more attractive.
Absolutely.
How much does that chip away at this this sweat equity work of handwritten letters and going door to door, this kind of work?
Yeah.
that you're so well known for.
Yeah. Well, I personally, here's what I think is that, you guys had a panel yesterday talking about like everybody's been after the transaction for years, and who's in the center of the transaction. Well, in our business, who's in the center of the relationship? We're entering a world with AI. I saw something the other day. Like I'm tipping around with it, right? I'm an amateur. I'm having fun with it. I'm looking at it as a tool, and we've brought it in to help our business, just even with our meetings. Okay, but I saw something the other day where it was, I don't know if you saw this, it's Donald Trump in the shower. Have you seen this one?
I don't think so.
I mean,
No.
It's crazy, right? It's his face, the hair, the shower's coming down. He's got the face, the hair is coming down like this, and he's just looking into a camera. I'm like, and I know this isn't real,
Yeah.
but it really looks real. We're entering an era where everybody's going to go, there's an expression in America where they go, are you for real, man? Are you real? People in the center of the relationship have to be people who can be trustworthy. They have to be informed of what's happening in the industry and the different models. That you don't have an option now, because
Totally
you have
agree.
to be informed. You have to know what all these entities are doing. But I think a trusted source is going to be so much more valuable than ever. My brother Brian would say at the events, he goes, look, the way he looked at it was, I think it's a great quote. People are drowning in information, but they're starving for truth. And, and again, principles are principles are principles. People buy from people before they buy products. And one thing we know, and you know this because you're a practitioner, it's a big responsibility and privilege to guide somebody through a home. Like you've got two beautiful little girls. That's not taken lightly by a true pro. They want to put you in a great home. You're going to feed those kids. You're going to raise those kids. You're going to have great memories in those kids. The school that they go to, they're going to pray. You're going to sing them goodnight stories in that place. Like, it's not like going on vacation to a half-built, hotel.
Yeah.
You go and you go, crap, this doesn't look like what they had on the brochure.
The pool's under construction.
Yeah, but it sucked, but you're leaving.
Yeah.
Not with a home. And I think the professional practitioner who just doesn't have their head in the sand going, okay, I've got nothing to worry about. No, don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Learn it. People were terrified of Facebook years ago. What's the best way to learn it? Just go on there, set up a profile, play around with it. There's plenty of people doing it. So yes, I'm sure that's always going to be under attack, but I'm around this business 25 years. And the insecurity of this business is every year, the real estate industry thinks it's going to be done away with. Rich Barton came from Zillow. I met with Rich Barton very early on. I go, tell me why you're excited about real estate. He goes, revolution, man. He came out of the travel industry.
Yeah, him and Lawrence thought it was game over.
It was game over, but they underestimated. It wasn't putting travel agents out of business who were selling a commodity and an experience that was short-lived. You know this. How many people have you sat across where they looked at you and you needed to tell them, I promise you this is a good deal. I promise this is what you want. Based on you've told me and we've built a relationship and I've gotten to know you and you've gotten to know me. And by the way, when you work by referral, if Darren refers me to you because of his experience with me, we have a mutual, I've got like a responsibility because I don't want you pissed off at me and I don't want Darren pissed off at me. But if you become the trusted advisor, a person who can be trustworthy, who's going to say, I am going to act in your best interest. We were up in Toronto here recently doing an event and a lady came up to me. She's 25 years, 30 years in the business. She goes, listen, the market sucks up right. It's sucking right up in Toronto right now.
Yeah, tough market.
She said, I've talked 3 people out of listing their homes right now because it's just not the best time for them to do it. And I'm like, you are a warrior. Yeah. And you're a reason why you're going to do well for years. You're the reason why you have done well serving people over the past years. And I just personally believe that is going to be the most valuable commodity in the world. Because your kids, when it's time for them to buy a house, like, I don't want to buy it from the Wizard of Oz who's behind some big machine with some big algorithm who has ulterior motives. I want them to make sure that they're taken care of, and you're going to want that.
I've been saying it for years. At the local radio show I've done for about 10 years up in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a very seasoned agent on one time, 30 years in the business. She goes, Byron, you keep saying on your radio show that there is a best time to sell your house. I said, yeah, of course, because there is. I mean, Realtor.com comes out with the same week almost every single year. They roll out the same week because the data is solid on this. And I showed her, she was in the studio at the time. We used to do the radio show in the actual station studio. And I just brought up 20 years of a 12-month cycle in that state. And every single year, June has the highest price point of 12 months. Yep. So if June has the highest price point, I want to be listed in April. Yep. So yeah, the best time to sell is if price is most important, which isn't always for a seller, but if it is, and commonly it is, then there's no question I want to be out at the peak spring market to get the highest price possible. Yeah. And so to your point of just being honest with you, I used to say this all the time. Well, the best time to sell was 2 months ago if we're in June. Right. Really? Yeah. So should I wait till next April? Yeah. If money's the most important. Totally. Or is the market going to change over the next 10 months? I can't predict that, but let's talk about what that might look like.
But that's an example of you doing your homework so that they don't have to. Yeah. That you're like, hey, here's the seasonality. Yeah. Here's what it is. This is reliable. This is data. I've done the extra work. And I'm just saying, if more realtors and more practitioners, more professionals just went that extra little mile, just took that extra bit of time, that people are like, okay, thank you.
What it does is build trust. It doesn't change somebody's timeline most of the time.
That's it.
Because the timeline is set off life events, right? Yeah. We know this. Yeah. The big life event for agents right now is like they're really confused and their momentum's going backwards. I shared a story with you before we walked in about how I started in real estate. Yeah. Many listening may already know my story. 3 homes from ages 19 to 21. That was 04 to 06, bankrupt by December 31st, 2008. Yeah. From 2009 until I got my license, in 2011, when I really started focusing on changing my life, for about 2 years, my momentum was backwards because I was thinking about the mistakes I made. So I had backwards momentum and it really started to compound. And I think a lot of agents are thinking about 21 and 22 and whether they didn't take advantage of the market or they had COVID conflicts and they put a whole bunch of stuff on credit cards and they're just thinking backwards. And do I get a job? Is this business right for me? I'm stuck, but their momentum is not moving in the right direction. Yep. So 25 years of helping people get, in your words, above the line. Yeah. What's the next step an agent, if you're listening to this, can take right now to get into momentum?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
just
please.
For a second. I know this is your podcast, but I want to build on your story. Okay, you've got a great story. We don't know each other that long, but in a short period, I'm like, this guy's a go-getter. This guy's a terrier. This guy's going to get in and figure stuff out. Okay, it's probably the hardest thing that ever happened to you as a young man.
Yeah, no question.
But let me ask you, is it one of the best things that ever happened to you?
Yeah, it was my pitch when I was going on listing appointments. So everybody says, I got into real estate because I love homes, or I had an agent and looked at whatever. Yeah. Most of them say the cliche, I just love homes and I love helping people. I said, I got into real estate because I went bankrupt in real estate and I've made every mistake in real estate and I'm going to help you avoid those mistakes. Yeah. So I put it all on the table. It was my pitch. It was my Ivy League degree in the business that is going to be my entire life work and my career. Yep. College couldn't have taught me that. So, I mean, if I can go back in time and not do it, of course. But it also, in the way you said it, is it the best thing that happened to you? I wouldn't be where I am today 100%. Without that.
I agree. And that's why you're a valuable person in your own right in this world, because you get to encourage people in the season that they're in. Yesterday I said, people are, even a turkey can fly in a hurricane.
This is so good.
We've had so many years where the wind's been at our back. Okay, we got a lot of agents who are like, didn't have to negotiate, didn't know after anything. It's just like the market was what was blowing things along. In that time, it doesn't teach you skills. It doesn't help you with good routines. It doesn't grow you. In fact, if you're not careful with it, it will give you a false sense about yourself. And success lies. So the wind falls. And guess what? The turkeys start flying from the sky. And the person who thought they were an eagle is like, crap, am I a turkey? Now, that's a harsh, I'm being funny about it, but there's truth in it.
Next hurricane down in Southwest Florida, I'm gonna be looking for those turkeys. I usually leave and go up to Connecticut to avoid the hurricanes, but I'll be looking for some turkeys if I'm there.
So the thing about it is, success can lie and so can failure. I see people all the time who go from zero to hero and they believe it. Yeah. And the problem is, I never think we're the greatest. I'm the best in the world. Same way as I don't think we're the worst in the world, somewhere in between. So you talked about momentum. When momentum is working against you, you can feel like you're sliding down the side of a cliff and you're trying to just grab on. And every bit and piece, you're just grabbing on. But if you keep trying to grab on, you will stop at some point. Now we need to get momentum going in the other direction.
Yes.
The best harvests happen when the winter is the coldest, when it's the bleakest. I'm from Ireland. Like, you're an East Coast boy. Okay. Now I live in San Diego. I don't like cold weather.
Yeah.
I'm not going out. A couple of drops of rain. I can't golf in that. Okay. I came from Ireland. Okay.
That's how I grew up in Connecticut. Now I'm spoiled spending most of my time in Southwest Florida. It's like, it's got to be above 70 degrees to golf.
Yeah. I'm not doing it. So the thing of it is, in Ireland, the farmers knew that the coldest winter, the bleakest winter, meant that they were going to have the best harvest.
Yeah.
The soil is cold. It turns better. They plant the seed in the soil. And because it's cold, the parasites and the flies can't devour that seed, and they're going to have a great fruit. We're in a season where it's a bit cold. It's a bit bleak. Our clients who are prepared for these seasons, because they didn't spend all the money, they built reserves, they have a database, now's the time for them to plant the seeds and gain market share. If you feel like a turkey right now, don't worry about it. Like, I'm sure you felt like a turkey when you went bankrupt.
Oh,
you know,
it was 2 years.
Yeah.
I was a sitting turkey, a sitting duck.
Yeah, it hurts. But at the end of the day, probably it's not true. It's just part of the learning process. Right now, it's depressing. Right now is to go, I'm not going to buy into this. As I said yesterday, this below the line stuff, it keeps you down. It's negative. It's nothing good in the world. It's like, hold on a sec. Can you put the next right thing forward? Can you put your foot forward? Can you start calling a couple of clients today? Check in with them. How are you doing? How's it going? You know, take them for coffee. AI can't take them for coffee. AI can't look in the eye and go, how's it going? Oh, I can see. Are you good? Are you bad? How's the family? How are the kids? Listening for needs and wants that you can meet, even just in simple ways. So I just think it's a great time, but it's an honest time because the wind isn't blowing. We have trained over 7,500 brokerages to deliver our training programs to their agents. We've talked to them recently and said, talk to us about the greatest challenges you're facing right now. It's a lack of engagement and apathy. Okay. And apathy, look it up in the dictionary, it's a loss of enthusiasm. Okay. So how do you get enthusiastic? Let me ask you this. If you were down and out right now and I said, okay, you're having a hard time, and I asked you about your 2 girls, and I did ask you about your 2 girls earlier, and you just lit up like a light bulb.
Yeah.
And I go, would you be enthusiastic about working your business in such a way you get to give them a great life and a great experience to set them up? I've no doubt you'd be like, yes, because you'd run through a brick wall for them. The best thing you can do to overcome apathy is bring meaning to your life, meaning to your business. And now you go to work every day going, I got a purpose. And it's not poor old me. It's not, people end up in depression when they end up just focused on themselves. The best cure in that situation is to serve others. Because now you're like, I got value. My life has value. Your value to those kids is massive. And I think it turns the momentum because you bring purpose and your value to your clients and also play the long game, because at the end of the day, the season's going to change. And I tell people all the time, there's people right now who are doing great and they feel a bit guilty. And then I talk to realtors and they're like, I just want to quit. I'm like, okay, great. I'm not going to stop you from quitting, but I'm just going to ask you to do this. Will you quit tomorrow and not today? Mm. And will you say that every day? I'm not going to quit today, but I'm going to quit tomorrow. And say it until December 25th. And I promise you by December 25th, if you don't quit right now, you're going to be at your Christmas dinner and you're going to be like, I don't know how it happened. I don't know how I got through that. But by God, we knocked out a couple of transactions. I did better than I thought I was going to do. I learned some skills I didn't have. And you know what? I'm resilient.
Yeah.
Businesses get purchased by private equity firms because of resilience. It's a very, very powerful commodity and things that companies value when they say, you're resilient. And even with, like we started this with your story, I know you're resilient just because of what you tell me. So
when you brought up my daughters, I attach the reason why I'm doing things. In the beginning, it was, so in the middle of going bankrupt and then getting my real estate license, I had this job told you my dad was a mechanic at a power plant. So he got me a job there. I was down in Alchemy and I hated it. I felt like I was trapped. And so in the beginning, when I was really, building my business, I attached everything to the way I would feel going into that place in the morning. Everything was attached to that feeling. When I had my daughters, I attached lifestyle changes to their birth. So when you say you lit up when we were talking about your daughter, like, would you do it for them? You have to attach, what I've done is I've attached a contract with myself to those big life moments. When my daughter Stella was born, for example, 8 years ago, I signed a contract with myself. I'll never do a shot of alcohol again. Like, I'll have a drink here and there, that kind of thing. Yeah. But like the act of like, let's do shots, let's get shots. And I could never find a really good excuse to not do shots before. It's like, Dermot, dude, I don't want a shot. Come on, man, do a shot, do a shot. And so then I attached, hey, I retired from doing shots when Stella was born. Nobody could argue with it. I realized it was like my get out of jail free card. I don't have to do shots because the act of doing a shot is the worst thing for the morning. Absolutely. And I want to be productive. I want to be clear. I want to be able to collaborate with people. If I'm foggy brain, I can't collaborate.
And be present.
That's
right. It's great. That's brilliant. And a little thing like that, when I hear stuff like that in people's stories, I'm like, man, that sounds like, oh, well, what's the big deal? Like, everybody does that. It's like, no. That's a building block with that much of a shift, like literally a shot is that size. It's like, it's this much progress.
You have to attach it to meaningful stuff.
That's right.
Or it's just not going to be meaningful.
Nope. You won't do it.
What's interesting about what you guys have built, you've helped so many people. You mentioned 7,500 offices. It's just an incredible number over 25 years. It's a lot of being out there in the field, doing the events, all of it. I didn't know some stuff about the back end of Buffini business that if you're listening and you're not a client, you probably wouldn't know either. You're like a full-time believer. You believe all your coaches should be full-time. In fact, they're salaried, not like on a split. Yep. And I think that translates for you guys in how you believe in the real estate agent community, this full-time versus kind of half in, half out mentality. Yeah. When did you guys always have that model? And what made you go that direction?
We started that way because we didn't need people to be in real estate to be a coach. In fact, we looked for the opposite. We looked for a skill set of people who had a mixture of empathy to understand somebody's story so they could drive them. They could drive them towards the goals. Also, our system was very specific to generating referrals. So we trained to that system because at the end of the day, that was like, it brought a lot of clarity to people who were like, I'm doing everything and I don't know what I'm doing. So the other side of it is we also didn't want to have, candidly, the complication of somebody from a company calling us going, I'm really uncomfortable with agents with another brand coaching my clients. And then the other part is we didn't want to be anybody's boy.
And you've seen that, to your point, you've seen that play out over the last 5-10 years, like the EXP real models. It's been, there's been all these different coaches out there that have used their coaching platform to attract into a downline. This is not, I'm friends with, Leo's going to be sitting right here. Yep. So I got a lot of friends with EXP. I've got a lot of friends talking to me earlier, a lot of friends with Real. It's just the reality of some coaches have used that hat to kind of benefit their other hat.
But coaching is not clearly defined, okay? So like the 7,500 brokers that we've trained them to be mentors. It's actually a mentor program because a mentor can actually come alongside somebody. If you're a broker and you have an agent in your office and that agent is struggling with addiction or other things that are very deeply private, that's a hard place for a broker to be. You've crossed a boundary. In coaching, we're getting people out of things like that. But now, it doesn't mean we're going to be their therapist, but it might mean we get them to one because we're like, this is in your way. This is hurting you. This is a childhood wound, whatever it might be. All those things that are like, a hard-nosed business person's like, what the hell are you talking about? We know if we get those things out of the way, people fly. The other side of it is our coaches are in training every week. Okay. They're learning about what's happening in the industry. They're learning from other coaches. We're learning from our clients. Because we give our clients the raw material. they bring it back to us going, you know what I did with this? I did this, 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 and this. And we're like, that's awesome. Would you like to, is it okay if we share that in our community? They're like, absolutely. So coaching it became a trendy thing. Darren Hardy, you know Darren Hardy?
Yeah.
Well, Darren's a friend.
Yeah.
And Darren,
one of the best email newsletters.
Yeah, he's a marketing
over the years.
Yep. And he's got great content and he's learned it. But Darren he spoke at one of our events and he goes, look, everywhere I'm going right now, when I talk, no matter what industry I'm in, people are talking about Buffini Company. We're like, is that good or bad? He goes, it's really good. And Darren is let's say he has a very high standards. So he didn't go into coaching himself because he actually studied the coaching industry and didn't want to be associated with it. He said, your guy's brand stands out. I want to come and visit you. So he came in, he goes, I know, you name everybody who's been in the coaching business. He goes, I can't put my name to it because it's not excellent. He goes, but every time I talk to somebody, excellence is attached to your name. He goes, why does your coaching work? And why do you stand out? And I gave him my best answer, and it's the same answer I have today. You know, I said to him, well, Darren, here's what I've learned. Making a baby is easy and fun. Raising a child, that's hard. Like, you're not a parent unless at one point you're thinking about, would it be wrong to sell them on eBay? Like, would it just, I mean, seriously, could I leave them in the house for a week? I mean, they're 6. They should be able to handle themselves. Well, that's not good parenting. It's also not good coaching.
Yeah.
So we've committed to the process. We've committed to the back end. And at the end of the day, like, here's how I view it. If your girls got into business for themselves, I would hope that our brand would stand out enough where you trust me and our company enough to take care of your girls in a way that's going to help them succeed. It's going to help them grow as people. It's going to help them manage their finances. It's going to have good principles in their business and in their life so that they're an impactful person, not just in their business and their communities, but in their lives and the lives that they're going to have with their children. And so these principles, while they're old school, spending less than you make, put others first, you'll never be second, the golden rule, all that stuff. We're from Ireland. Now, from us, and I'm rattling on here, but, when you grow up in Ireland, your last name is Buffini, and it's not Murphy. You've got an opportunity, you have a challenge. Our dad was a house painter. And it was when we painted a house, and myself and Brian would be in a room like this, and we'd be painting, because we wanted to get it done as fast as we
could
can.
use a fresh coat.
It could. It's very nice. The wallpaper's good. I'm cursed too, because I see all the blemishes.
Yeah.
But when my dad would come around to inspect our work, we knew that we were going to ask him a question, and we knew what the answer was going to be. And every time we got suckered in, we were like, Dad, is it good? And he'd go, can you put your name to it? And we're like, So before he came around, he was going to go, are you going to put your name to this job? Now, he was asking us because there was a standard there. But what he was really saying is, are you going to put my name to this job? Because our good name is so valuable. And he told us, listen, you're growing up in Ireland. There's 4 million people. 3.8 million are called Murphy. If you were a Murphy and you did a crappy job from somebody, guess what? You could disappear into oblivion. They never find you. One flip of the phone book, they'll find 8 families, 8 numbers with the name Buffini, and they will hunt you down. And if you do a bad job for anybody, they're going to tell the world. But if you act where you're going to put your best foot forward, you're going to put your name to the work, you're going to take care of that customer, here's the opposite side of that. They're going to tell the world about you. And so that principle into coaching, I can't have a part-time coach coaching somebody full-time because I can't put my name to it. I can't have them. When the market's flying, somebody can be a coach and a realtor and pull it off. And by the way, I understand it because a lot of realtors get bored and they're like, I need to do something. I want to have a bigger impact. I get it. But when the market subsides, people have to choose. When the agents disappear from the business and 74% of them didn't sell a home last year and you're a coach, guess that business is gone. For us, we only have one option. And our commitment currently is to ensure that we do all we can for our members, not just to navigate this season, but to actually sow the seeds and prepare themselves for the next season. And because we've done that, people refer us because they trust us and they go, well, Buffini, we know what it stands for. And that comes from the painting and decorating business. So I've just rattled on there for about 15 minutes.
The track record is proven. What do you say to the critics that say, well, some or many of the coaches or most of the coaches or all the coaches actually have never been an agent. They haven't sold a house.
Right.
So they're just a coach. That's a critique you've heard over the years. How have you handled it?
Well, we've tried it. And typically what happens is people, see, our system is so simple, right? It's so specific. It's so relationally focused with those activities. What a lot of times we hired somebody who had some knowledge and experience, and they just added their own flavor into it. And then you're like, the client's confused.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, it was really like, no, we're all in on this.
Systems win.
We're all in on this system and this philosophy. You can't mix a philosophy. Like if you and your wife have completely different philosophies on how to raise those girls, it's going to be tough.
Or
you can have different opinions, but you can't have a different philosophy.
You know, my wife and I were both 40. I took her to senior prom. We were 17 years old.
Wow.
So we're 17 when we started dating. And, you know, when you're 17, 18, 19, you don't talk about politics. You know, politics aren't even on the radar.
For sure.
You know, and not making it a political thing, but you're not really talking about at 17, 18, 19, those kind of like core beliefs that you have as a human navigating Earth.
Yeah.
And so like we could have very well both woken up at 28 and been like, we totally see the world differently. What ended up happening is like we were very aligned in the way we think about raising children and just navigating life.
Yeah.
And because if we did wake up and we saw things completely differently, then we would have been the statistic. It wouldn't have worked.
No. Yeah, you don't have a path. That's what I'm saying. Like for people, when we sign somebody up for coaching, number one, we've got to prescribe the best solution based on where they are, because I can't give a coach a crappy client. I can't burn a coach out by giving them a client that they're like, this person's on life support. Because the 80 people they're working with, if I give them 10% of those people, 8 people in their database who are not qualified to be coached, they can't afford it. If they're in the wrong season, it's going to kill the 72 who are waiting and going, it's just 25 years of doing it. We've tried everything. We'd sooner go, listen, go and spend $395, take a training program. It'll give you what you need for where you're at. And it'll give you some good training, some good foundational stuff. And it still will align with the philosophy of like, take care of your clients, find people who know you, trust you, and refer you. And then down line, if you want to be in coaching, great. We'll charge you $6,000 a year, but we won't take $6,000 if you cannot afford it, if it's not in your best interest.
And you're doing this on month-to-month basis. I think we're in a subscription world. I think your model of month-to-month is on the money. Every other product in the world that we buy is month-to-month. Everything is subscription model. And sometimes it's seasonal. Like I'm not running HBO Max, you know, every single month for the rest of my life. When the guy that did Succession rolls out his next thing, I'll probably subscribe.
Yeah, you're back in.
You know, I'll probably be back in for a couple of months. But I've got a problem. I need to solve it. So the optionality of the way you've set it up, and many of your clients have done probably 10, 15, 20 years and tapped into different resources because the resources were available for them to keep growing.
Yeah.
But I also like the side of the business where it's like one-time training or month to month, because that's just where we are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, look, you know, real estate's a free-spirited industry. Like you're not a guy who's ever going to work in a 9-to-5 office. You're not designed that way. Neither are most realtors. So people lock people down. Okay, that's really fun. Like who wants to be locked down? You know, they say, you know, the most important thing about marriage is dating during marriage. Okay, you seal the deal. Well, you better not have that mindset. You better be dating every month. Our thing is, we don't want to coach somebody who doesn't want to be coached.
Yeah.
We don't want to lock them in where they feel like, I'm stuck with this person.
How would that last 6 months be? Brutal.
Brutal. But here's what's funny about it. And this is why opposites, like it's a game of opposites. You know, if everybody's going that direction and they're going to get rich that way, you probably should be very, very suspect of it. Every month, I write thank you letters and we send awards to people who are with us 25 years. And I take pictures of it because I write this stack of letters every month. And these people are with us month to month to month to month for 25 years because we're not locking them down. We're building them up every month and they can leave anytime they like. But because we provide value and we try and date them every month, we try and win their business every month, we try and provide value every month.
Always recruiting.
That's right. And at the end of the day, it becomes a relationship. Well, when it's a relationship, guess what? We've got an incredible subscription business because of it.
I think college coaches are in such an interesting position right now with the NIL. Every day that kid gets on campus, they have to re-recruit that player. For the monthly meetings for our team in Connecticut, I'm talking about everything that we do moving forward over and over and over again, as if it's the first time I'm announcing it. I'm recruiting everybody back in on a monthly basis because they're free agents every day anyways.
That's right.
Here's the vision. Here's where we go. Here's where we're going. You have to continue to sell it. So, I think that's the right model. I think it's really authentic. Now, when something in the business, client, coach, employee, executive member, something blows up, there's going to be problems in every business. Somebody has a problem with something or a major issue. What is your process to solve the problem? Like, what are the steps that you take? There's a fire. It needs to be put out. Do you and Brian get in a room? What's your process?
Well, I got a great team. Okay. They understand the philosophy, which is like ultimately put it right for the customer if you can, if it's reasonable. Like if you've made a mistake, own it quickly, acknowledge it, and then tell them what you're going to do to put it right. Okay.
What if it's, I just want more of X, or I'm missing out. I feel like I should have this. I don't feel like I'm getting that connection. It's not a mistake. It's just
connection sometimes.
Well,
so for instance, I put my email out to people. So I would sooner a customer tell me they have a problem rather than tell anybody else and disappear. So I welcome it. I don't take it as criticism. Sometimes it's just like, it's something that got mixed in translation. Sometimes a realtor go, well, nobody ever told me. I'm like, you got 8 emails. You got 2 calls from client care. We got it all here. You just didn't catch it. Okay, great. So we can have that conversation and just go, hey, what's the best way to communicate with you? Because here's the list I have. Okay. But I put out there, they can email me directly because I'd sooner them tell me. And then I can activate our team to be like, hey, this wasn't really good, guys. Hey, I can acknowledge it. I can say, hey, Byron, like, it doesn't sound like you're having an excellent experience with this. And sometimes that happens. Like, I'm sure you've had a client where you're like, it didn't start well. And then it just got worse from there. And at some point it's just like, can we go on a first date again? Because we're not like, I like you, you like me. There's something there, but like we're off to the wrong start. So I try and go first. I try and be in front of the customer so they can tell me directly and they know they have access to me. And then I acknowledge it. I sometimes you get a list of war and peace from somebody. They're just having a bad day. And they will tell you, you're the reason, you're the son of Satan. And like, I'll go through it and I'll literally physically print it out. And then I will highlight it. I'm like, I think it's about this. I think it's about this. And I think it's about this. Okay. And then I'll send them back an email and say, I really want to understand what you're telling me. I went through your email. Is it this, this, and this? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what it is. They didn't even know themselves. It was just like, they're upset. They got after. I'm like, great, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in touch with the person who heads up that department. I'm going to put it on their radar. You're going to get a response immediately. And you let me know directly if you're not satisfied. I've also had this. Somebody reaches out to me and I'm like, listen, I've looked at this. I've looked at in our system and I've seen that you've talked to 8 different people and now you're with me. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You work hard for your money. We want you to be happy. I don't think we're going to make you happy. I don't have that process. And by the way, I'm not going to provide that process. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or we just might not be a good fit. So my team's they bent over backwards, but that's as much as we're going to do. And I wish you well and success in the future. And both of those things are completely appropriate. So we just try and the same way as in business, it's like, we're avoiding conflict sometimes and it's unnecessary. There's a great program out there called Crucial Conversations and our entire company has taken it. All our leadership has taken it. And it's this ability to have a crucial conversation, which is before a critical conversation. It's a crucial conversation because like, we need to talk about this because I don't want to get the critical standpoint. I also don't want to presume that I've put 1-to-1 together and gotten 13. I want to come back and check with you first to see we're on the same page. So we try and do that as a business. Are we perfect? No. Do we get it wrong? Yes. The more people you have, the harder it is. you know, and then you have to decide if you're in the people pleasing business or if you're in the like, hey, this is what we do and what we don't do, and it's not a good fit. So I try and model it across the company. I try to, and I really, we're very, very fortunate because we've got 200 staff members who's like, take care of the customer and see if it's reasonable. And maybe we need to change our thinking and our process because there's enough people telling us we got the wrong process, and be willing to own it and willing to change it. That's what I try and do.
When do you just like that feedback loop that you're talking about? Sometimes feedback, like for a broker owner, sometimes the feedback they're getting is just not the right feedback.
That's right.
Because their agents don't have enough experience, but they're seeing something on Instagram that or YouTube that seems sexy in the moment. We should do this. Hey, we should have more of that.
Yeah.
So how does like a broker owner figure out what's the right feedback to listen to?
Well, I just think, you know, like if I start giving you feedback right now in your business as a practitioner, you'd be like, no. Like you'd have enough confidence to tell me, you might be right about what you think. You might be right about what you feel, but that doesn't fit here.
Yeah.
And I'm not leading my business, and I can't support your business that way. So I think all of us have to analyze, like, what do we believe? What's our philosophy? What's our methodology? And they'll be able to differentiate it. You know, over the last couple of years, like I've worked with a lot of leaders. Like I got, you know, in a lot of ways, I got CEOs on the couch in my office because, as you know, like running a business, sometimes you're like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of guys who've built great businesses and they're 40 years in business and they can predict their business and they know exactly what to do when the winds die down and the market cools. They know what they're going to do. They know what it's going to mean. And a lot of times they'll come to me and say, hey, this company's it's a technology company. I don't understand it. I don't know how to apply it. I'm like, do me a favor, just park that over here for a second. I go, could you help me if I came to Austin, Texas right now to sell a home? If I came to your market and I went, hey, I'm brand new. Could you give me the principles that you would say absolutely positively if you do these things, you're going to sell a home? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty confident you could do that.
Yeah.
Great. Because they're principle based. It's knowledge. It's experiential knowledge. You believe in that. That's your philosophy. That's your methodology. Well, the same way with technology, I had this guy write down every principle that he knows and believes in real estate and knows to be true for 40 years. And then look at the technology and see if that technology enhances and brings that principle alive. And if it doesn't, don't bother with it because you don't believe in it. It's not going to work. Well, the same way with feedback, it's dangerous. I get loads of feedback from our customers. Some of it's gold and some of it's just feedback. And we have to have the confidence to come back and go, hey, that's enlightening, not defensive. Byron, you're trying to tell me something here to get better. That's the intent that I'm taking on here. I'm not going to be defensive. And I've made the mistake sometimes being defensive just because I got out of the wrong side of the bed that morning. And we're like doing all this stuff and I can't make you happy. But at the end of the day, same way you're a broker, whether you're an agent, you've got to lead yourself and lead them by saying, I don't believe in that. I understand, but we will not be going that direction because I don't believe in it. And I don't believe it's in your best interest. I don't believe it's in the customer's best interest. And I don't believe it's going to work. Yeah. But that requires a certain level of emotional sobriety.
Ooh.
To take the time in the morning to go, what do I believe in? Who am I? And what do I absolutely positively know is going to work?
Emotional sobriety. I like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of emotionally triggered people.
Yeah.
I'm using this a lot right now because I see it, you know, I think you said this on stage, 4 years before this year, everything was Biden's fault. Now everything's Trump's fault. And there's this doom loop in people's minds. And some of it has to do with social, but more of it's just personal accountability, or you said it, emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
I really like that. Dermot, Bobby will tell you, rarely do I do a conversation like this where we bring up my kids or my wife or my personal life, really ever. If you look, for those that are following me on Instagram, some people, when they meet me and they're like, oh, you have kids or you have a wife? Like, I don't post on Instagram photos of the family. Yeah. It's just not who I am because if I didn't have a business, I wouldn't even have Instagram, to be fair.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have a business, I wouldn't be posting my kids there anyway. It's just kind of not who I am. But I felt really comfortable talking with you, and we went a couple different angles that I normally wouldn't. I really enjoy the conversation. I'm curious, kind of as we wrap here, the Buffini Company isn't facing out on social business-wise, as much as some other companies, I'm curious why, Brian, as more, as the face of the company.
Yeah.
I've listened to some stuff. He was recently on our buddy Pineda's, Brian Pineda's podcast in Vegas. I think they were in Vegas at the time. And I listened to that whole thing and I was like, wow, there's a lot that should be shared.
Yes. We're working on it.
And it's not just an hour podcast. Like I sit down for a little bit of time and I'm really impressed by you from afar, never meeting your brother. I'm really impressed there. There's a lot from the business perspective, the personal, whatever, but from a business perspective that could be shared online.
Yeah.
Is there a roadmap for that?
Yeah, we're literally like, the way sometimes you just get so busy doing what you're doing and you're in your bubble, and we've been so focused on the customers that we have. But now we need to start telling the world a little bit about that we exist and, kind of distribute our content. One of our core competencies as a business is creating content that's implementable. And
me and Ryan Serhant just had this conversation. Like, Ryan Serhant doesn't, everybody, he was on TV, it's easy for him to get likes. Every piece of content has a CTA, implementable content. Like, it's meaningful for the business. It's not 20 hours of production just to generate likes. It's meaningful for a CTA. Even now, there's creative CTAs embedded. This conversation had a natural CTA in it for Buffini's companies. We didn't talk about doing that. You're not paying me for this. It was just, I'm interested in the company.
Yeah.
I think other people are going to be interested in a monster company in our space for years.
Yeah.
Kind of the background and how the back end works. Yeah. But that's a natural CTA. So you can do CTAs that are kind of just woven into content, and you can do CTAs that are more of an ad read. Yeah. So I think meaningful content or what did you implementable?
Yeah, like because everything for us is actionable. Like if you teach it on stage and a coach can't implement it, we don't have the right content, or we don't have the right coach, or we don't have the right process. I think there's other side of it too. Is like we spent a little time getting to know each other because I'm like, I can tell there's a lot to you as a person. Just like I can tell there's a lot going on in that head of yours, and you're a successful guy in your own right, but there's a lot of meaning. I can see it in you. Yeah. But I also think family of origin and culture is important too. We're from Ireland, okay? We're not I don't want to tell you how great I am. I want to show you. I want to earn it. I want to do more for you than you pay me for. That's my old man said. Like, if they pay you $10, give them $20 worth of value. If they don't pay you the $20, guess what? You're going to get the delta between $10 work and $20 work, and you're going to grow those muscles, and somebody's going to pay it for you. But I think we're at the stage, we're still growing after 29 years. And now it is, maybe it's a form of humility, maybe it's origin. But like now we're like, if we want to impact and improve the lives and livelihoods of people, which is our mission, we got to tell the world about it. And so, we've got people in South Africa we're training, in Argentina. I'm speaking in Remax Europe here in Portugal. And we already have a following there just because it's been organic. But we're deciding if we want to step out and do this next thing, but we are going to do it because I guess we need coaching too, and have people come in and tell our story, because we want to present ourselves in the right way too. There's a lot of sizzle out there and not a lot of steak. I think we've been delivering great steak, and now we just need to give a little sizzle and tell the world. So I take what you are sharing as encouragement. Yeah. And so I'm going to take that on board. And
I think there's a lot that you guys should be sharing that the industry really would benefit from, from a content perspective. So I'm looking forward to that next
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and sharing on the BAM platform, because I know so many are gonna be like, dude, I didn't even know who Dermot was, but that was unbelievable. So
great. Well, and thank you for what you're doing. I hope you share your story, because I think you're in a position to really encourage a lot of people, and I think you can do it through this platform. So.
Thank you. Dermot, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.